Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, and when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. Okay, let me start this with some caveats. Okay, I am not here to help to make you say do one thing or the other. You make your own decisions when it comes to your tax life. As a tax professional, my job is to work for you to get you the lowest amount of tax possible, so that legally possible. Let me put the legally in there, and also to share with you the consequences of any of the actions that you want to take that may not be in line with the tax code. So I think that is all of the caveats I want to make. All right. So just about once or twice a year, there is always someone who comes to me that wants to talk about, where is the law that says that taxation is legal? I'm actually pulling up a resource really quickly. Okay. They talked to me about Sheree Jackson. They've seen her video. I've seen her video, but I've also read her book. So if you have not read her book, I suggest you read it, because there's a lot of information in there for you that's going to help you answer some of these things. If you don't know who that is, she is an ex-IRS agent. She actually, like I said, she has a book, How to Stick It to the IRS. I read her book, and it talks about, she shares her story about how she went through, did her research, and didn't find that taxation was legal. So I want to talk about that, because the IRS has answered a lot of those questions based on what they believe. You figure out what you believe and do what you do. Okay, I'll say that. So what we're talking about is a segment of the population. They used to be called tax protesters. Then they became tax defiers. This is a segment of the population that believes that wages are not income, and there are a lot of other things. But I want to share these things with you so that you can get the IRS's take on this, and then you can do what you do. But if you've got comments, if you want to ask questions to clarify things, I am here for that. But if you want to name call, listen. I got people coming up here talking about I'm creating more sheep and all this other stuff. Again, do what you do. I'm here to have a healthy conversation. I'm not here for name calling, so just know that up front if you decide to go there. Okay. All right, so let's talk about they're called frivolous arguments. This is what the IRS terms them. And it starts off with that our federal income tax system is voluntary. That means that we can make the choice as to whether or not we participate. And that is not true. A voluntary system means that you report your income. Okay, you volunteer the information, means that you tell the IRS, hey, I made this much in W-2 income, I made this much in 1099 income, here are all my deductions, this is my final tax liability, and then you pay that. And so that's when the audit process comes in to basically make sure you're being honest, right? So that's the first thing. So understand that we're talking about voluntary compliance. That means that you're saying, hey, here's all the money I made, and this is what my final tax liability is. Not that filing your taxes is voluntary, or that paying your taxes is voluntary. That's the law of the land. And I also want to say this: tax has been around since way back when, for thousands of years. So the only way taxation is going to go away is if you get the government to make it go away, and good luck with that, because they use our tax money to spend money on stuff. Okay. So number two is that the taxpayer is not a citizen of the United States. And you hear things about, sovereign citizenship and that kind of thing. So listen, if you're born in the United States, you are a United States citizen. You are required to report your worldwide income. That means if you made money on this planet, you are required to report your income. Okay. I printed this off, you guys. This is 18 pages worth of Q&A that that the IRS has gone through and answered and given you tax case information. So I'm not going to go through all of that. So there's more. Taxpayers can reduce their federal income tax liability by filing a zero return. That is considered a frivolous return. So when you go through and you file a zero return and the IRS goes through and audits you, you can get, there's an additional penalty for what is called this frivolous return. Okay, so it's not just the failure to file penalty, the failure to pay penalty, all of that. You get, there's extra for a frivolous return. The next one is the IRS must prepare federal tax returns for a person who fails to file. Now, that is not true. However, if you go several years, the IRS will file what's called a substitute for return, or SFR. And that's basically the IRS saying, hey, here's their income that's reported by third-party people. This is your standard deduction. This is what you owe us. That's what a substitute for return is. That is still not an actual filing. So if the IRS does a substitute for return for you and you get a bill from the IRS that says, hey, you owe us X amount, then if you're cool with that, then write the check. But if you're not, then you still need to prepare those returns. Now, understand too, there is no statute of limitations on fraudulent returns or returns that were not filed. So here it is now, 2020. If they find out that you did not file a tax return in 2010, and they find out this year, there is no statute of limitations. If you owe on that tax return, then you're going to get all the penalties and interest that were due from the time that the 2010 tax return was due up until now, and it will continue until you pay the bill. Okay, that's how this works. Let's see. We've got only foreign source income is taxable. The other contention is that wages, tips, and other compensation received for personal services are not income. Guys, you can go to the IRS website, and I will actually provide the link for you. So I'm not going to go through and read this for you. I want you to really go through and read this for yourself. But I want you to also understand that these people are going to jail. Okay, tax defiers, tax protesters are going to jail. And I will start with Sheree Peel Jackson. Okay, this is in her book. I'm not throwing shade at anybody. So, you know, people are real good about that. Oh, so-and-so made a video about you throwing shade or whatever. I'm telling you what's in her book. I got it on Kindle. I know y'all can't see it on my phone, but through all of her stuff, again, go through and read the book. I'm not going to read it to you. She was convicted for a willful failure to file, and she was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Okay, I think it was 1 year for each return. This is the same thing that happened to Wesley Snipes. He was sent to jail for failure to file. Now, his CPAs, and everybody remembers this case, okay? His CPAs went to jail because they were tax defiers, and they got more jail time than him. But now, here's a case from August of 2018 where this it says a tax defier convicted of 20 years of scheme to avoid paying income taxes. He set up shell companies, filed frivolous claims, and sent forged money orders to evade taxes. Okay, it doesn't say how much time he's getting, but he's been convicted, so I'll be looking for that. And then this one from October of 2019. Colorado tax defier was sentenced to 5 years in prison, and he owes more than $3.5 million to the IRS. Now, the one question I also get is, well, when you go to jail, do you have to still pay the tax? And the answer is yes. So when if you get convicted for this stuff, if you get sent to prison, the bill is still waiting for you when you get out. And so even Wesley Snipes is still fighting this battle because he got out of prison. His bill was still waiting for him. He said, hey, I can't pay it. And he sent them an offer, and the IRS said, no, right? So even in the offer and compromise process, you guys, if you are not honest with your finances, the IRS is going to do their homework, okay? So if you are not honest about your finances, they can refuse your offer in compromise. They don't have to accept that. Okay, they can do their homework and find out what you really can afford to pay based on what they know about your finances. And and people are like, well, what do they know? They go to the banks. They look at your credit report. They look at people that are associated with you to see if all of a sudden somebody who may only be on Social Security and suddenly got this bossed out bank account with, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and like, okay, where exactly is this money coming from? Okay. So when it comes down to, paying your taxes, okay, for my business owners, I always tell you to set aside 30%, right? 30% of your gross revenue for your taxes, so that when you go to file, you'll have enough money set aside to pay your taxes. As far as, taxation being theft and all of that stuff, I don't even get wrapped up into that. Why? Because it's the law of the land. And, the other question I get is related to the wealthy people, the Jeff Bezos of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world. Why are they not paying taxes? Well, they may not be paying federal taxes, okay? But that doesn't mean they're not paying state taxes. They're paying employment taxes. They're paying a whole bunch of other taxes. And with the federal tax law, that's what it is. It's tax law. It's not that they've done anything wrong. Is that, they posted a huge loss, right? Amazon lost money for 20 years, and that loss kept carrying forward and carrying forward, right? And so that's why Jeff Bezos earned all that money, in 2018 or whatever, last time we had this fight. We'll be hearing about that again, I'm sure. And even with Donald Trump, it came up in the last election. Well, he hasn't paid taxes for such and such years. Well, that's because he posted a huge loss and it carried forward. And the thing about it is that we get these huge headlines, right? And people get ruled by these headlines and get angry based on the headlines, but not really understanding the laws that go behind them. So it's not that these folks did anything wrong. It was just a tax law. And a lot of these people that are now saying, oh, well, this is wrong or whatever in our government, they've been in government long enough to have had these laws changed a long time ago. So don't get wrapped up in the headline of so-and-so didn't pay taxes. Well, find out why, right? So when there's a difference between legally not paying taxes and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is legal. Tax evasion is illegal. Tax avoidance is what we do every day. When I want to itemize your deductions and you want to itemize to the hilt, that is tax avoidance, okay? Everybody's going to do that. Nobody wants to pay taxes that they don't owe, right? Nobody wants to do that, and nobody likes paying taxes, but it's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of living here in this America, okay? So if you want to go and do your research and do what you do with that, that's completely on you. Okay? If you're willing to risk imprisonment, do your thing. But as for me and the way I direct my audience, there are so many ways to legally avoid taxes. Why? Why go through this? Why go through the lengths of trying to hide, and then when you get caught and get sent to prison for tax evasion, then you want everyone to feel sorry for you, right? No. So that's my take on, legally paying taxes and all of that stuff. Listen, the IRS, the federal government, is really not playing with this stuff. I mean, I've had tax attorneys, I'm sitting and listening on conversations. They're like, oh yes, we love tax defiers because they help keep us paid. Right? So, I mean, come on. So, so that's basically what I wanted to share with you today. Again, make your own decision. Don't just go by some headline. If you want to go and you see somebody on YouTube, if they've got content out, go read it, go review it. Like I said, people talk about Sheree Peel Jackson all the time. Go on Amazon and buy her book and read it. I did. So Yeah, so that's it, you guys. So thank you so much. I hope this gives you some food for thought. And if you've got questions and want to ask about that, feel free to leave your questions and I will do my best to answer them. But again, I'm not for anyone being attacked on my videos or anything like that. I won't have it. You just get blocked and go on about your business, okay? So, guys, thank you so much for tuning into Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, and you can come right here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right, have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.